Ready?
Today's daf, Be'ezras Hashem, is Masechta Bava Basra, daf Ayin Vov. And we're holding daf Ayin Hey Amid Beis. But let's just start a little bit more towards the, before the lines get wide, okay? This Gemara is what Yerushalayim is going to look. This Gemara is discussing what Yerushalayim is going to look la'asud lavai. In other words, it's even if you don't have an apartment in Yerushalayim, you don't have to be nervous because it's going to be a much bigger place. Hi, Sheldon, we just began. We're in Ein Hey Amid Beis. So, okay, here we go.
Parking included.
Parking included, that's right. Very good. HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'agbias Yerushalayim gimel parsois lamala. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make Yerushalayim like a mountain that's going to be 3 miles high in the air. A parsa, let's say, is a mile, so it'll be like 3 miles parses in the air. So that's the Gemara saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make Yerushalayim extend upwards. Shnema, the pasuk says, "V'ra'ama v'yashvus tachtel, my tachtel kisachtel," that its height, the elevation of Yerushalayim is going to be like the way Yerushalayim is right now. So if you measure Yerushalayim right now is wide, takes up the area of 3 parsa. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make, like, I don't know, maybe a meteorite is going to hit and it's going to lift up Yerushalayim, and it's going to be like an elevated place that's going to reach to the sky. So the high tachtel plus parsa hava. How do you know that Yerushalayim in our time is 3 parsa? Rabba said, Amali Hahu Saba, this old man told me, the Didi Chazid le Yerushalayim Kamaisa, Usloisa Parsa Hava. I saw the early Yerushalayim, the one that's Bizman Azeh, and it's exactly 3 parsois. V'shem Toima, if Yerushalayim is going to be so elevated, right? Yesh Tsar Lalis, there's going to be, everybody's going to have a hard time going up Yerushalayim, because you're walking on an incline. So you're gonna be able to fly to the sky like birds fly to their homes. In other words, I guess there's gonna be elevators and escalators and take you up to
elevation, go up and down.
Right. Omar Rapapa said, Shmami no high eva tlose parsa bidlay. The cloud is 3 parsas. The start of the clouds formation over planet Earth is 3 parsas in the air, because that's the Yerushalayim that it's described in Yeshaya is gonna reach into the clouds, and we just said that the Yerushalayim is going to be a height of 3 parsois. So the clouds must start at 3 parsois. Concludes Amar Abchanina Bar Papa, Biskesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu loses Yerushalayim b'midah. God wanted to make Jerusalem in the future to have a certain finite dimensions, a certain area. That Yerushalayim should be something measurable in the future. So the angel said, you built many beautiful cities for the Goyim, right? Many beautiful cities. They don't really have a length and a width. They extend and expand, and they can continue to expand. Yerushalayim, that your name is in it, and your Beis Hamikdash is in it, and only tzaddikim are living there. Are you going to give it a finite dimensions? Miyad, right after Kadosh Baruch Hu from the Malachi Asharis, he said, Rutz dabel anar halaz lema process takes of Yerushalayim roiv odom mehemes b'soicha. That it's going to spread. Yerushalayim is going to be wide and spread, and because of this so many multitudes of people and animals that are going to be inside of it. I guess what this means is that they're not going to just limit it to tzaddikim. Maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to limit that only tzaddikim could live in Jerusalem, and the Malachi Yashar is going to say no. Then it doesn't look good that other cities are bigger than Jerusalem. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to say everybody can enter Yerushalayim, and it's going to widen up from the amount of people that are going to and animals that are going to come to live there. Amar Rish Lakish said, Osas HaKadosh Baruch Hu le'al Yerushalayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to add on to Jerusalem 1,000 tefaf gininois, gardens with the gematria of tefaf. Tefaf, I think the gematria is 169, so there's going to be 169 new parks. Elef kefel migdalim, 1,000. I mean, not 1,000 times taf, 1,000 times kefel. The gematria of kefel migdalim. There's going to be like tons and tons of towers. Elef litzoi birayinois, 1,000 times this litzoi, this numer litzoi, palaces. Elef ushnei shiloi, 1,002 times shiloi toitforais, which is a small type of mansion, mini mansions. Each one is going to be the size of the Tzipari when there was no wars by Tzipari. Tanya Rabbi Yosi, Aniri Isi Tzipari b'Shalvasa. I saw Tzipari when it was in its heyday. It had 180,000 streets, people selling this called Tzike Kedera. Concludes the Gemara, Vatzlois Sela El Sela Sholish Pamim Shloisha Pamim, My Sholish Ushloisha Pamim. Again, a pasuk describing Jerusalem, Lasad Lavi. This is hard to understand. Amrab Levi, Amrab Papa, Mishum Rab Yoshi, the Sichni. Im Gimel Yerushalayim Hain. If Yerushalayim is going to be 3 times as big, right? Then Kol Achas VaAchas Yeshbam Shloisha Medarim Lamala. Each one will have will be 30 stories. Im Shloishim Yerushalayim Hain. If Yerushalayim is going to be 30 times what it is today, Kol Achas VaAchas Mehem Yeshbam Shloisha Medarim Lamala. Each one of those, buildings will have 3 stories. Okay, this concludes the Gemara that we were discussing about Gadata. And we got into this Gemara because the Gemara discussed how do you sell a ship and how's the ship sold. So then the Gemara started discussing stories about different Amoraim, what they saw when they were traveling on a ship. So let's get back to the ship story. It's not a ship. I don't want to use it. Let's say a rowboat. Itmar, Svina, a rowboat. You want to buy a rowboat. Rav says, Kevan shemacha kol shehu kana. As soon as you draw the rowboat a little bit, you koina the rowboat. In other words, we know that you pay money, right? But when is it for certain that the purchaser cannot retract from the purchase? When he draws the boat a little bit, right? He pulls it an inch, then he's koina. Shmuel says, Loi kana achim es kula. You're not koina, you don't acquire the boat until you just draw the whole thing. So let's say the boat is 8 feet long, then you have to pull the boat for 8 feet. So it's a big machlekes how you purchase a boat. So the Gemara says, let us say it's a machlekes tanoi. Ketzad b'msira. How are you koina with something called mesira? Mesira means I give you something to hold. You didn't lift it or anything. I put it into your hand. So here's achsa betalfa besara beukov shaleh beshlif shaleh beprum b'shabia bezuksha betzvara kana. We're trying to buy an animal, right? So you're not going to lift this animal, and even if you didn't draw the animal, there's something called mesira. So if you hold it by its horseshoe or by the bell, or by something in its mouth, or you hold on to the saddle, all these things, if you just hold on to it, you're koined. That's called mesira. So, let's say you want to coin it not with mesira, giving it over, but the purchaser wants to coin it with this kinyan called meshicha, drawing it to you. So then you don't even have to touch the animal. As long as you make a movement in the animal, you're coining the animal. You call the animal and it comes, then you're coining the animal. Let's say you whacked the animal with a stick and it started running. So you caused it to move. As soon as it lifted its hand and foot, it didn't even move a distance. It just lifted, let's say moved an inch. Kana, you acquired it. That is the opinion of the Tanakama. So Mashicha could be 1 inch. Rab Acha, Rab Acha Omer, some say Rab Acha said this, the animal has to walk its entire, body length. Then you're kained. So here we have a machlekes how to acquire an animal. Does it have to move an inch, or does it have to move its entire body length? So Lema Rav who said a ship, a boat, to be kind of a boat, all you have to is draw it from an inch. Dama Tanakama, he aligns himself up perfectly with the Tanakama. Ushmuel, Dama Krabacha. Shmuel says you need to move the whole boat, its size, in order to be kainit. So they say he would hold like the Rabacha, who said that in order to be kainit in an animal, you have to move it in its entirety, its entire body length. Answers the Gemara, not necessarily so. Amalach Rav says, I could agree with Rabacha. And there's a big difference between trying to purchase a boat and trying to purchase an animal. Adkan lekama Rav Acha. Rav Acha said you have to move the animal its entire body length, only by a live animal. The avagav the akri yad v'regel beduchta kamaisa. Even though it lifted its foot, its front leg and hind leg, it didn't move anywhere. Avosvina, but a ship, kiven the nada bapurta, since you moved it an inch, nadula kula, then you moved it the whole thing. So there's no movement of an inch by an animal. That's why Rav Acha said you're not coin it until the animal totally moves its entire body length. Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel could say, I could align myself with the Tanakama. I say by a boat, in order to acquire a boat, you have to schlep the boat, the entire size of the boat. But that was only by a boat. By an animal, you can move it. You don't even have to move it at all. Say, have to move it because by a balachai, even the akri yad regel, since you moved a hand and a foot, the rest of the animal is going to eventually move. Once it lifts its foot, you know what the next move is. It's going to move its other foot and hand. Svina, just because you moved it an inch, it doesn't mean it's going to continue to move. Unless you actually moved its entire length in, then it works. Eloi. So the Gemara just left it off that it's not a machlokes tanoim Rav and Shmuel. Okay, again, the machlokes is how does one acquire a boat? Obviously, you wrote the check, but that's not enough to acquire the boat. Rav said you have to move the boat an inch, and Shmuel says you have to move the boat you have to schlep the boat in its entire length of the boat. Let us say that they're arguing like the following tanoim. The Tanya we learned to the Brisa, Svina Niknas b'Mashicha. A boat you could acquire with Mashicha. Okay. Doesn't tell you how much you have to pull the boat, but that's what the Tanakama says. Rab Nosson said, Svina v'oisius Niknas b'Mashicha. A Svina, you want to buy a boat, or you want to buy a debt instrument, DEBT, a debt instrument. You want to, Ruvain has somebody owes Ruvain money and wants to sell it. So in order for the acquirer to purchase it, he has to pull the star, maybe the star is on a string and you just pull it a little bit and you kind of the star. So first the Gemara over star. Plus, in order to acquire a debt instrument, a note instrument, then you also have to have another document that gives the purchaser the right to collect, like a debt collector. He has the right to collect the debt. So you have to write another document. So first the Gemara says like this. Something is missing in the Mishnah because Rav Nosson seems to be talking about something the Tanakama was not talking about. Oisius man dechar shmei. Who mentioned anything in the Brisa about acquiring a note or a debt instrument? So why did Rav Nosson bring that up? So the Gemara first says, there's something missing in the Brisa. Svina niknes b'mshicha. First, the Brisa says a boat, you have to pull it. V'oisios, the Tanakama holds, if you want to buy a star, bim sira. The only way to acquire a note instrument is if you hold on to it. The seller says, "Here's my note. It's on the table. Hold it. If you hold it, then you acquire it." But if you did Mashicha, it wouldn't work because Mashicha is uniquely given over for something that it itself is of value, like an animal. But Mashicha, just pulling a note instrument with a string wouldn't work because the note is not worth anything. It's what the note can do. It's the note gives you the power to collect on a debt. So that doesn't work just with Mashicha. In fact, if you just did that Mashicha, you would only be allowed to use the note as a bottle stopper because you didn't acquire the power of the note to collect on the debt. That's why in order to do that, you actually have to hold on to the note. Rab Nosson says, Svina v'oisius niknis b'mashicha v'shtar. Svina and even a shtar, it's called oisius, a note instrument. It can be b'choyne with mashicha and shtar. So that you have to have both a mashicha, plus you have to have a document stating that the purchaser is buying the boat and he's buying the note instrument. So first the Gemara says, if you're doing mishnicha, shtar l'svina lamali metaltalihi. Why do you need a document stating you purchased the boat? Boats are movable items. And movable items, if you buy, let's say you buy a bicycle or anything in the street, you don't have to have a whole document that you bought it. So why should I have to require when you buy a boat to have a document? So that doesn't make sense, what Rab Nosson is saying. This is what Rab Nosson meant to say. Svina nikdes b'mashicha. To acquire a boat, you need to do mashicha. But to acquire a document, a note instrument, b'masira. That's what the Tanakama holds. Rab Nosson says Svina b'mshicha. Svina again is acquired with pulling the boat. V'oisius, to acquire a note, bishtar. You have to have a document that says, besides Masira, besides holding on to the note, Rab Nosson is more stricter. You actually have to have another document that says that you purchased the note. So the holding on to the note gives you the ownership of the note. Having a shtar, another document saying that you purchased the note, gives you the power to collect with that note. So Rab Nosson has more stricter opinion when it comes to buying a debt instrument. But let's focus on the Tanakama. Both of them said that a boat requires Mashicha, but they're not arguing. So why did Rab Nosson repeat what the Tanakama said, Svina b'Mashicha, if he's not arguing with a boat? Svina b'Mashicha, Hainu Tanakama. Why did Rab Nosson repeat those words? Svina, a boat with Mashicha. Elalav, there must be some hidden machlokis between the Tanakama and Rab Nosson. The Rav Shmuel Ikabenayu, that it's Rav and Shmuel. Let's say the Svina, according to the Tanakama, is like Rav, that Tanakama holds, all you have to do is pull it a little bit. And no, Rab Nosson, who's always strict, says Svina b'Mashicha, you have to pull the whole boat. So again, we're aligning, making the Brisa be the same machloikis between Rav and Shmuel. How to acquire a boat? Do you have to pull it an inch, or do you have to pull it the entire body of the boat? Answers the Gemara, lo, not so. The Kuli Alma, everybody agrees. Rav, Shmuel. They both hold either like Rav or like Shmuel. You don't have to pull, either you have to pull the whole boat or a little bit of the boat. Uvesvina Kuli Alma le pligi. No one's arguing what their opinion is about a boat. We just don't know how much you have to pull. Ki pligi ba'oisius. Their argument is strictly on how to acquire a debt instrument. And this is what Rab Nosson meant to tell the Tanakama. With a boat, I certainly agree that a boat is acquired with Mashicha. So that's why he repeated it. He just wanted to say, I agree with you on that. Ba'oisius, if you want to acquire the power to collect on a debt instrument, you have to have another document stating you purchased it. Then you acquire the power to collect with that debt instrument. But if you don't have it, it doesn't work. And this is a machlokes of it's a machlokes with these tanoim. The same machlokes tanoim argued on how to acquire a debt instrument. Tanya, we learned in a brisa, oisius niknes b'msira. Rebbe says oisius, to acquire a document, a debt instrument, mesira is enough. Just holding on to the document. The Chachamim say like Rab Nosson, bein kasav like masav, bein masav like kasav. If you just hold on to it, or you have a shtar, but you didn't hold on to the document, or you didn't hold on to the oisius, or bei masav like kasev, loikon, it doesn't work. You have to have, of course, holding on to the dead instrument, plus the purchaser has to have another document saying he bought it. So Chachamim are like Rav Nassan, Rebbe is like the Tanakama of that brisa. So b'mai akimta kirebi. What did you say that the first Tanakama, by the way, of that first brisa is Rebbe? This Tanakama of the brisa that said Svina Niknas b'Mashicha is Rebbe, right? And Oisius b'Masira, right? Wait a second. Svina Name Tikne b'Masira. Why did Rebbe say that a boat can only be acquired if you pull it? What about if you hold on to the boat? Let's say you touch the boat without pulling it. You actually physically touch the boat, or you hold on to an important part of the boat. Why can't you be kaina a boat? The Tanya, Rebbe holds that even touching the boat and holding on to it in a certain place will give you the acquisition rights. The Tanya, we learned in a brisa, Svina Niknes B'Msira. A boat, Rebbe holds, a boat could be acquired by just holding on to an important part of the boat. Let's say you hold on to the rows or something like that, to the oars. So the Chachamim say it doesn't work. We go to Amid Beis until you actually do Mashiach, until you rented space. So why did we say one brisa says Rebbe says a boat is only acquired with Mashiach, and one brisa says boats need Mesira. You actually have to hold on to the boat. And says the Gemara, very simple. Like Kasha, Kam B'Rshus Rabim. If you're acquiring a boat in a public domain, let's say a public river, then I guess, or let's say in a public domain, a boat a little in the street. So then you can't do Mashiach in a street. Mashiach means you're pulling it from one domain to another domain. But in Rishus Rabim, there's no domains there. It belongs to everybody. There, Mesira only works, actually holding on to the boat. Kan besimta. But when did Rebbe say Mashiach works? In the side streets of the service road of a Rishus Rabim, where people can use that area to temporarily own the space of that area, and in that case, Mashiach would work. You see, Mashiach is one thing about Mashiach, it doesn't work in Rishus Rabim. Pulling something, if it's in Rishus Rabim, will not work. An animal, if you want to koina an animal with Mashiach, it has to be done on private property. So therefore, in Rishus Rabim, to acquire a boat, you need Mesira. Then only Mesira works. In a service, in a simta, in a private road, right, or a service road, so then you could be koina a boat with Mashiach.
Baruch.
Yeah.
So you probably couldn't buy a boat either also on the sea if it's in the water, because it's a Carmelis. It's a Carmelis.
Right. I was thinking about that. That's why, yeah, you're right. It's like a Rishus Rabim. So you wouldn't be able to, you would have to have Mesira, actually hold on to an important part of the boat. Just pulling the boat you wouldn't acquire it. Right.
Okay.
Right. I'm just imagining like a small boat, like, so that's what we're talking about.
like a little fishing boat. Yeah.
So,
okay.
You said that the second brisa is, and which only says a boat could be acquired. What did Rabbi say in the second brisa? A boat, you have to hold on to the boat. Sfina niknas b'masira, divrei Rabbi. So that is talking about Rishus Rabim, right? That's what the Gemara said. Ema Seifa. Let us say the Seifa. If that brisa is talking about Rishus Rabim, right? How could the Chachamim say that the boat couldn't work in the Chachamim? The Chachamim say that it does work if you do Mashiach. Be'ibur Rishus Rabim meman oiger. So if it's in Rishus Rabim, who are you renting the space that you're doing Mashiach on? How could the Chachamim say a boat in a Rishus Rabim Mashiach would work? V'su Mashiach barabim mikani at all. We never find Mashiach working in Rishus Rabim. For Abaye v'Rava the Amri Tavai, both Abaye and say Mesira kaina b'Rishus Rabim u'v'chotzer she'ena shel shneim. Mesira, again, holding on to something, works in Rishus Rabim and in a chotzer that doesn't belong to you. I want to point out there's a difference between Mesira, holding on to something, and lifting it. It's hard to lift a 2,000-pound animal, right? So if you hold on to an important part of its tools, like in the picture over here, hold on to a bell, so then you're kind it. That's called Masira. Mashiach is actually pulling. So the Abai and Rava both say Mashiach only works besimta in a private service road, or a courtyard that belongs to both of them. But if you actually lift the item, so then it works wherever, kind of that works in every place. So we see that that Mashiach does not work in Rishus Harabim. So how could the Chachamim say the Mashiach would work on a boat in Rishus Harabim? And says the Gemara, "My achi Mishacheno nami dekama, o my nami dekama, o my achi yiskim dekama hachi kama." In other words, they're saying you have to do both. In other words, you have to do Mashiach only after you rent the spot underneath the kama hachi kama. This is what the Chachamim meant to say. Until you draw it from Rishus Harabim to a simta. You pulled it into a private road, then Mashiach could work. Pulling it in the length of Rishus Harabim won't work. In Rishus Bailami, if it's you're doing Mashiach in the on the backyard of the seller of the boat, like then you have to rent this spot that's underneath. But again, the Chachamim are not saying outright that Mashiach would work in a Rishus Harabim if you want to acquire both. Finally, the Gemara says, Lema Abai v'Rabba Tami Karebi. Maybe Abai and Rabba align themselves with Rebbe. So the Gemara says, if that's what he said, go take a hold of it and coin it, that would work. We're going to do this one. We're going to go over this one tomorrow. But we'll go on to other topics tomorrow. Bez Hashem. Okay, we'll stop right over here.